I'm 44 and have 2 daughters, Claire 16 and Lucy 15. They are a year apart, share a bathroom they constantly argue over, and somehow still end up sitting next to each other on the couch most nights. I love them both more than anything I've ever known, but I don't treat them the same. That's where this whole situation started. Claire has never been strong academically. It's not from lack of trying. We went through that phase of sitting at the kitchen table for hours, worksheets spread out, me trying to explain things 3 different ways while she stared at the page like it was written in another language. There were tears, frustration, and that tight look she gets when she feels cornered. We even had her evaluated at one point because her teachers suggested attention issues. Nothing came of it, no diagnosis, no clear explanation, just, this is where she is. Over time, things shifted. The pressure eased, mostly because it had to. Claire started talking more openly about what she actually wanted. Something hands-on, something practical. She mentioned trade school without hesitation, like it was obvious. And honestly, she seemed lighter when she talked about it. Not defensive, not apologizing, just certain in a way she's never been about school. Lucy is the opposite. Always has been. She doesn't just do well, she excels. She picks things up fast, asks questions I have to Google later, and gets excited about things most kids her age would roll their eyes at. Her teachers love her. Her reports come back with words like exceptional, driven, and top of class. It's never been a struggle to get her to care about school. If anything, we've had to remind her to take breaks, so we adjusted our parenting. Not in some dramatic sit-down, declare a policy way. It just happened gradually. Claire has more freedom. She goes out with friends, stays out later within reason, spends time doing things she enjoys without us hovering over her about productivity. We still care about her education, obviously, but we don't push her the same way. It doesn't work, and it doesn't feel fair to force her into a mold that clearly doesn't fit. With Lucy, we've done the opposite. We've lent in. We signed her up for a maths and robotics program that runs on weekends. We encourage her to stay ahead in her coursework. She's already working through material for next year. There are extracurriculars, competitions, and prep for things that might strengthen college applications. We monitor her screen time more strictly because it's easy for her to fall into a rabbit hole of videos when she's tired, and we don't want that cutting into her study time. We live in the Bay Area. Everything here feels competitive. Schools, opportunities, even the conversations parents have at pickup. You hear what other kids are doing and what they're achieving, and it's hard not to think about what your own child needs to stay on track. Lucy has the ability to go far academically. That's not me projecting. It's what everyone around her keeps reinforcing. So yes, we push her, because it feels like not doing that would be neglecting something important. For a long time, this system worked, or at least it didn't cause open conflict. Until last week. Lucy came into the kitchen while I was making dinner. Claire had already gone out with friends. I remember Lucy standing there for a second before saying anything, like she was deciding whether to start the conversation at all. She asked why Claire gets to go out so often while she has to stay home and study. It wasn't an aggressive tone, more controlled, which, with Lucy, usually means she's already thought it through. I told her what I genuinely believed, that they have different goals, different paths. That Claire doesn't have the same academic ambitions, and that's okay, but Lucy does, and we're trying to support that. She didn't like that answer. Her expression changed almost immediately. Not loud, not dramatic, just this tightening around her eyes. She asked me what I meant by different ambitions. I repeated it, maybe less carefully this time. It was said that Claire isn't aiming for university, that her path is more straightforward, while Lucy's requires more preparation. That's when she got upset, not yelling. Lucy doesn't yell. But her voice sharpened in a way that cut more than shouting would have. She said it sounded like I was punishing her for doing well. I tried to explain that it wasn't punishment, that it was the opposite, that we're investing in her future because she has so much potential. She didn't accept that. She said it didn't feel like support, it felt like pressure. Like no matter how well she does, the response is always to give her more to do, more to prove, more to work towards. Then she said something that stuck with me longer than anything else. She asked why Claire gets to just exist while she has to constantly earn her time. I didn't have a good answer for that. I told her again that we love them equally, that this isn't about favoritism, that everything we're doing is because we believe in her. She shook her head, not angrily, just disappointed. She said believing in her shouldn't feel like this. Then she went upstairs. No slammed doors, no dramatic exit, just left. I stood there for a while after that, still holding the spoon I'd been using to stir something that had already started sticking to the pan. What she said didn't feel entirely wrong. That's the problem. From my perspective, the logic makes sense. Claire needs space and support in a different way than Lucy does. Lucy thrives academically, and opportunities come from that. It feels responsible to nurture it. But hearing it from Lucy's side, it sounded different, like she's being boxed into a role she didn't fully choose. I started thinking about the little things. The way I automatically ask Lucy about school the moment she gets home, while Claire gets asked if she had fun. The way Lucy's schedule is full, planned, and structured while Claire's is open. The way Lucy sometimes lingers when Claire is getting ready to go out, like she wants to ask if she can come too, but already knows the answer. There was a moment a few days before the argument that I didn't think much of at the time. Claire was heading out, laughing about something on her phone. Lucy was at the table, working through a problem set. She looked up briefly, watched Claire leave, then went back to her work. No comment. But I remember the pause now. I don't think Lucy resents Claire. If anything, she's protective of her. But I do think she's starting to resent the expectations placed on her. And I don't know where the line is between encouraging someone and overwhelming them. Part of me still believes we're doing the right thing at the core. The world isn't equal. Opportunities don't just appear, you have to be prepared for them. Lucy has the ability to access paths Claire likely won't, and it feels irresponsible not to help her make the most of that. But another part of me is questioning the cost. Because when Lucy said it feels like she has to earn her time, I couldn't dismiss that. Even if it wasn't my intention, that's how it's landing. And intention doesn't matter as much as impact. I haven't resolved it yet. We haven't had a follow-up conversation. Things have been normal on the surface. She's still doing her work and still going to her programs. But there's a distance now. Not dramatic, just subtle. Fewer casual comments, less lingering in shared spaces. I keep replaying the conversation in my head, trying to figure out where I could have said something different or whether the issue isn't the conversation at all, but the structure we built around her. I don't want to hold Lucy back, but I also don't want her to feel like her value is tied to how much she produces. And right now, I'm not sure we've struck that balance. People shared some opinions. One person said, I think what's throwing people off, and honestly what would piss me off is Lucy, is that you've quietly written one kid off while over-engineering the other one's life. You say it like it's practical, but it reads like you've already decided Claire's ceiling and Lucy's obligation. Claire struggling academically doesn't mean she doesn't need structure or expectations, and Lucy being good at school doesn't mean she signed up to have her entire life dictated. You've created this weird imbalance where one kid gets freedom because she won't go far academically anyway, your implication, not mine, and the other gets zero freedom because she can. That's not fairness. That's control disguised as strategy. Also, the whole "she'll thank us later" thing. That's what parents say when they're ignoring what their kid is telling them right now. Lucy is telling you, this doesn't feel good. Believe her. Because if you don't adjust, she's not going to thank you. She's going to distance herself the second she has the option. Another person said, I get what you're trying to do, but you're framing this like you're supporting Lucy when you're actually controlling her. There's a difference. You decided her path for her and built her entire life around it. That's not guidance, that's pressure with a nice label on it. What stuck out to me is how Claire gets to be a teenager, and Lucy gets treated like a long-term investment. Claire goes out, has a social life, gets to breathe. Lucy has to justify her time constantly. Of course she feels punished for doing well. You basically told her, because you're smart, you don't get freedom. Also, you keep saying Claire's path is certain, like trade school is some easy, guaranteed thing. It's not. She still needs structure and discipline, just in a different way. Right now, one kid gets low expectations and the other gets all of them. Lucy isn't mad because she hates studying. She's mad because you've turned her entire identity into achievement. That's exhausting, and yeah, she's gonna burn out if you don't fix this. Another said, the screen time thing alone would have started this fight in my house, not gonna lie. That's the kind of rule that feels arbitrary as hell from a kid's perspective. You're smarter, so you get less free time, is basically what she hears. But bigger picture, you're treating Lucy like a project, not a person. Everything in your post about her is about output, grades, competitions, prep, future. There's almost nothing about what she actually enjoys unless it happens to align with academics. And yeah, the Bay Area is competitive. So what? That doesn't mean your 15-year-old needs to live like she's already applying to med school. There are kids who get into great universities without being pushed this hard, and there are kids who burn out because they were pushed this hard. Claire gets to mess up, relax, and figure things out. Lucy doesn't get that, Grace. That's why she's upset. You're not wrong for supporting her strengths. You're wrong for making her feel like she doesn't have a choice in how her life looks. Continuation. I didn't expect things to get worse this quickly. I thought the argument Lucy and I had in the kitchen would settle into something manageable, awkward for a few days, then normal again. That didn't happen. The fight between the girls started over something small. It always does. Claire had left her shoes in the hallway again. Lucy tripped over them while carrying her laptop and snapped at her to move her stuff. Claire rolled her eyes and said something about Lucy, living in her own world anyway. It escalated fast. Lucy told her to stop acting like nothing mattered. Claire said not everything had to revolve around grades. Lucy laughed, actually laughed, and that's when it turned ugly. She said, "You wouldn't understand, you're not even trying, you're just, okay being dumb." Claire froze. I was in the other room, but I heard the shift in tone immediately. Not loud, just sharp in a way that makes you stop what you're doing. Claire said, very quietly, "What?" And Lucy didn't back down. She said it again, but worse. That Claire doesn't care because she knows she won't amount to anything academically. That she gets to go out and do whatever she wants because no one expects anything from her. Then she said something that I haven't been able to get out of my head since. She already gave up on you. That's why you get to do whatever you want. I walked in right after that. Claire didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stood there, staring at Lucy like she didn't recognize her. Then she looked at me. I told Lucy to go to her room immediately. She tried to argue, said Claire started it and said she was just being honest, but I shut it down and grounded her on the spot. No outings, no extracurriculars outside of school for the week, no phone beyond basic use. At the time, it felt justified. The way she spoke to her sister was cruel. There's no excuse for that. But the aftermath is where things started unraveling. Claire stopped talking to me, not in a dramatic way. She still answers direct questions if I ask something specific, but otherwise nothing. No casual comments, no asking for permission to go out, no updates about where she's going. She just moves around me like I'm not part of the conversation anymore. At first, I thought she was just upset about what Lucy said, but a few days later, I realized it was deeper than that. I overheard her on the phone with a friend. She didn't know I was nearby. She said, "It's not even what Lucy said, it's that it's probably true." I didn't interrupt. I just stood there, listening. She went on about how she thinks we've already decided who she is, that Lucy is the one with a future and she's just the other one, the one who gets less pressure because there's less to expect. Hearing that was uncomfortable, because it's not how I would phrase it, but I can see how it looks from the outside. Around the same time, Lucy's behavior shifted in a way I didn't anticipate. I assumed grounding her would make her reflect, maybe apologize, and get things back on track. Instead, she pulled back, but not emotionally like Claire, functionally. She started doing less. Assignments still got turned in, but not early, not polished the way they used to be. She skipped optional practice sessions for her robotics program. When I reminded her, she said, "It's optional." There was a test result that came back slightly lower than usual. Not bad, still above average, but not her standard. I asked her about it. She shrugged. That was it. No explanation, no frustration, nothing. It felt intentional, like she was testing something. A few days later, we had to meet with her school counselor for a routine academic planning session. I went in expecting the usual praise, suggestions for advanced tracks, and maybe some discussion about summer programs. That's not what happened. The counselor mentioned that Lucy had recently seemed less engaged, not struggling, but not as driven. She used the word flat. Then she asked Lucy directly how she was feeling about everything. Lucy said, "I don't know. It doesn't really matter what I feel, does it?" The counselor looked at me after that. Not in an accusatory way, but pointed. She talked about balance, about how students who are highly capable sometimes need space just as much as structure. That overloading them can lead to disengagement, not better performance. I nodded, but internally, I was resistant. It's hard not to be when you've spent so much time believing you're doing the right thing. After the meeting, Lucy didn't say much in the car. That night, I tried to talk to her again, more calmly this time. I told her I understood she felt pressured, that maybe we could adjust things slightly. She asked me what slightly meant. I said maybe fewer extracurriculars and more flexible scheduling. She asked if that meant she could skip the advanced math prep we'd signed her up for. I hesitated, and she noticed. She just nodded and said, "Okay," like she already knew the answer. Meanwhile, Claire started spending more time out of the house. but not in the same carefree way as before. She's been picking up small paid work through a friend's family, repairing things, helping with installations, practical stuff. The first time she got paid, she didn't tell me. I found out because she handed money to her sister to pay her back for something. I asked her about it later. She said, "It's not a big deal." But there was something in the way she said it, not defensive, just detached. I tried to tell her I was proud of her, that what she's doing is valuable. She nodded, but it didn't land, because I think, from her perspective, that praise came too late or felt conditional. The dynamic between them has changed too. They're not fighting anymore. They're barely interacting. Lucy stays in her space, doing only what's required. Claire comes and goes, independent in a way that feels less like freedom and more like distance. The house feels quieter, but not peaceful. Just disconnected. The worst part is realizing that both of them, in completely different ways, think I've already decided who they are. Lucy thinks her value is tied to how much she produces, and that it's never enough to earn freedom. Claire thinks her value is lower, period, and that the lack of pressure is proof of that. Neither of those is what I intended, but I can see how we got here. I tried to fix it recently. I suggested a family dinner, just the three of us, with no schedules and no expectations. Lucy asked if it was planned in advance or if we could just go spontaneously. I said we should probably plan it so it doesn't interfere with anything. She didn't say anything after that. Claire said she already had plans, and that was it. I'm starting to realize this isn't about one argument or one decision. It's the structure we built over time, and now both of them are reacting to it in opposite directions. Lucy is pulling away by doing less. Claire is pulling away by needing less. And I'm stuck trying to figure out how to step back without feeling like I'm letting Lucy fall behind, while also not reinforcing the idea that Claire was never expected to go anywhere in the first place. I still believe I was trying to do what's best for both of them, but right now, it doesn't feel like it's working for either of them. Some opinions, this update makes it worse, not better. Lucy didn't invent this out of thin air. She said the ugliest version of what has clearly been communicated in your house for a long time. That doesn't excuse her calling Claire dumb, because that was cruel as hell, but let's not pretend she pulled that idea from nowhere. She learnt it from the way you sort your daughters into investment and practical limit. Claire's silence is the part that would scare me most. Lucy is still reacting. Claire sounds like she's absorbing it. That's the kid who starts believing she deserves less and stops bringing things to you because she assumes your answer already exists. That kind of damage sits deep. And Lucy, you grounded her for saying out loud what your parenting has been implying for years. Convenient. Now she gets punished for cruelty while you dodge responsibility for the environment that shaped it. You've managed to teach one daughter that love comes with performance conditions, and the other that low expectations are her permanent identity. That is a brutal thing to do to both kids, even if you wrapped it up in, "I want what's best." Another said, "What stands out to me is how transactional this whole family has become. Claire's role was the one we don't push because what's the point? And Lucy's role was the one we extract results from because she can deliver. Neither girl was actually being parented as a full person." Lucy's insult to Claire was vicious, yes, but it also sounds like the pressure finally curdled into contempt. That happens when a kid feels trapped and starts looking sideways at the sibling who gets freedom. Claire became the symbol of what Lucy isn't allowed to have. Again, not fair to Claire, but absolutely predictable. And Claire clocked the deeper issue immediately. She didn't just hear dumb, she heard, "Mum has already ranked us." That's why she shut down. She's not mad about one fight. She thinks the whole system is rigged and the fight exposed it. Also, grounding Lucy without dismantling the fucked up logic underneath this is useless. You punished the explosion and ignored the gas leak. Continuation. I don't think there's a way to write this that makes me look good, so I'm just gonna say what happened. Things didn't stabilize after the last situation. If anything, they became more structured in a way that felt logical to me at the time and completely unacceptable to both of them. The immediate issue that pushed everything further was something small and practical. We only have one car available during the evenings. Claire had taken on more consistent paid work, actual scheduled jobs now, not just occasional help. Lucy had an upcoming academic commitment that required her to be somewhere across town at the same time. They both needed the car. Claire told me first. She said she had already committed to the job, that people were expecting her, and that she couldn't cancel without looking unreliable. Lucy didn't argue. She just said her session was important. I made the decision quickly. I told Claire that Lucy's commitment had to take priority, that what Lucy was doing would have long-term academic impact, while Claire's work, while good, was flexible. Claire didn't raise her voice, she just asked me, when is it not flexible? I didn't answer that properly. I said something about long-term goals, about opportunities, about how timing matters more for Lucy right now. Claire nodded, went to her room, and texted someone. She found another ride. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. Lucy went to her session. When she came back, she didn't say thank you. She didn't say anything at all. That was the first moment I realized something had shifted beyond arguments. It wasn't tension anymore. It was separation. After that, Claire stopped informing me about her schedule entirely. She didn't ask permission. She didn't argue about curfews. She just operated independently. If I asked where she was going, she'd answer briefly, but there was no discussion, no inclusion. It wasn't rebellion, it was removal. Lucy changed in a different way. She stopped exceeding expectations. Assignments were completed, but just enough. No extra credit, no early submissions. She dropped optional programs without discussion. When I asked why, she said, "It's not required." At one point, I told her she was capable of more. She responded, "There's no benefit." I asked what she meant. She said, "When I do more, I get more work. When I do less, I still get the same rules, so it doesn't matter." There wasn't anger in it, just logic. I tried to re-engage both of them with a structured conversation. I planned a dinner where we would sit down and talk about their futures. Not in a controlling way, but to understand where they were headed. Claire barely participated. She gave short answers, avoided eye contact, and eventually said she had already made decisions about her next steps. I asked what those were. She said, "I'll handle it." Lucy answered questions, but in a detached way. When I asked about college plans, she said, "I'll apply where it makes sense." No enthusiasm, no curiosity. At some point, I realized I was the only one talking with any investment. Then things escalated in a way I didn't anticipate. Lucy was nominated for a school recognition. It wasn't something I pushed. It came from her teachers. I was proud. I told her we should attend the event. She said she didn't want to. I thought she was being modest or anxious, so I insisted. At the event, when they called her name, she went up, accepted it, and when someone asked her about her achievements, she said, "I don't really want to keep doing this kind of thing." It was quiet, but people heard it. Afterwards, I asked her why she would say that. She said, "Because if I don't say it now, it keeps going." That same week, I found out Claire had formally enrolled in a trade program, not something she was considering, something she had already committed to. I wasn't part of the process. I asked her why she didn't tell me. She said, "You already decided what I was doing anyway." I tried to say that wasn't true. She didn't argue. She just said, "Okay." That "okay" felt worse than any fight we've had. The last real conversation I had with Lucy before things broke completely was when I tried to push her to reconsider taking a break after graduation. She had mentioned wanting time off before college. I told her that wasn't a good idea. That momentum matters. That taking a year off could derail her progress. She listened, then said, "You built this plan." I didn't. I told her it was for her benefit. She said, "That's what you keep saying." Not long after that, both of them reconnected with their father. He hasn't been very involved over the years. Inconsistent, busy, not present in the day-to-day way I was. I handled school, schedules, everything. But suddenly, they were spending time with him. At first occasionally, then regularly. I didn't think much of it until Claire started staying there more often. Then Lucy followed. There wasn't a dramatic announcement, they just stopped being here. I tried calling, texting, asking when they were coming back. Claire replied once, "I'm fine." Lucy said she needed space. That turned into weeks, then months. Lucy finished school. She didn't move back. She told me she was taking a year off before deciding her next step. Claire is in her trade program, I know that much. Beyond that, she hasn't shared anything. No details about what she plans to do after. I've asked. She doesn't answer. They both communicate with their father. I know because he reached out once, briefly, to say they were doing well. He's involved now in a way he never was before, and I'm not. What's difficult to accept is that I did everything. I managed their lives, their education, their structure. I made sure they had opportunities, direction, and stability. And now, he gets to be the one they go to, the one they talk to, the one they choose. I don't think they see it that way. I don't think they're trying to punish me. But the outcome is the same. They've built lives that don't include me in any meaningful way. Lucy stepped off the path I spent years constructing. Claire stepped onto one I never fully acknowledged, and both of them did it without me.